and we're gonna let God be God. So I'm praying that this ministers to
Mm.
someone who is going through the valley right now.
Mm.
Um, I've had, like I said, so many folks come to me over the last few months that are dealing with real life issues, y'all. I'm not talking about no cold. I'm not talking about no flu.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, Terry, real world issues. Family on the brink of busting up, marriages hanging on by a thread, sickness
Mm.
ravaging their body, cancer brand, the word cancer came up and now they got to deal with that. I've been dealing with people like that, y'all. I'm
Mm.
talking kids going crazy.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking losing their job. I've been talking to people like that,
Answers.
you know, and I have, like I said, I've come across folks who have been thinking that it was the Lord who was inflicting pain on them. Truth be told, I've had some people be honest with me and tell me that they felt like the Lord was doing them dirty. I know
Mm.
some of y'all shuddering in your pants, like, how could they say that? Well, I'm gonna say this. He
Mm-hmm.
hasn't struck them dead yet for saying that. See, some of us, we
Right.
know that we're supposed to have a healthy fear for the Lord, but he can also deal with us being honest.
Yeah.
He can deal with this. Maybe we can't, but he can deal with us being honest.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Um, I had a friend one time after looking at, you know, kids being murdered in a daycare center. And this is a pastor. He said, in my frustration today, I told God that I hated him. And man, people in the room was tripping, but I'm like, well, it's been
Mm.
over a year and some change, and the father hasn't struck him dead yet. I
Mm-hmm.
know that messed y'all up, but I believe that he knows how we feel and what we're going through.
Yeah,
I've
he
had
knows.
others that were asking too, Mason, why did he allow such trouble to come
Yeah,
my way?
Mm.
yeah.
To some of the stuff that I've heard.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and maybe somebody listening to me today will be honest enough to say that you're disappointed with the Lord right now because you've lost a loved one or because you're battling a medical condition, and you just ain't been battling it for 2 or 3 days, but you've been battling it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe there's someone in this room that, behind closed doors, you are struggling to
Mm.
make it, there might be somebody on this room that's still not there in them streets and can't shake it. Yeah, somebody. There might be somebody in this room that can't find a good job, or you heard that you might lose your job, or you just lost your job.
Yep.
Mm.
There might be somebody
Yeah.
listening to me today that said, you know what? Why is God allowing them to treat me this way?
Mm.
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 Yeah, yeah,
God
yeah.
knows.
And even though I'm going to say that
Mm.
it isn't a sin to ask the Father why. I came up in a time where grown folks told me, don't you ever question God.
Yeah, yeah.
I know some few of y'all in this room saying things, don't you ever question God. But I'm going to say, even though I don't believe it's a sin to ask why, I'm going to ask you not to ask why. Can I
Mm.
put it, can I put it like that?
Mm.
I'm going to ask you to try to not ask why. Why? Because asking why will most likely only lead you further on a downward spiral into depression.
Mm.
Because you asking why ain't getting you no answers.
Mm.
I remember, I hope Sister Ann don't mind me talking about her. Um, Sister Ann struggles because her daughter's no longer here.
Mm.
And I remember one time Sister Ann told me, she said, I just want to know why.
Jesus. Jesus.
And asking that question and not getting the answer only led her to fall into a deeper and deeper hole of depression.
Mm.
And in so many ways, I kept trying to tell her, sis, it's futile to ask why, because even if you got the answer, it's most likely ain't gonna make you feel any better.
That's